Rafael Murillo is coming off a scorching hot month of May that has put him from the discussion of a future star in baseball to someone who has already arrived, hitting over 300 this season with 17 homers already. We gotta hop in and see if we can keep this hot streak going against the Houston Astros, which is just lovely because the Astros, if you remember, are who he made his MLB debut against. Going against Framber Valdez here so far. Unable to get anything going through his first couple at bats. Back up here, bottom of the fifth. And he'll ground out to short. So an 0-for-3 start for Murillo. But here, bottom of the sixth. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Game is tied. What can we see from Rafael Murillo going against Forrest Whitley? Oh, Rafael Murillo! The first grand slam of the series. And it gives the Rockies a 4-run lead in the bottom of the sixth. 0-for-3 start, but he more than makes up for it there. Colorado loves Murillo. Yes, we absolutely do. The MLB is getting its newest superstar in the shortstop, Rafael Murillo. Big time players come through in spots like this, and he blasted this ball. It was gone from the moment it left his bat. 116 mile an hour exit velocity. What a play. Bottom 8. One more AB here for Murillo, but it will be not an out. Looked like it was going to be a routine ground out, so he'll reach base, but of course won't be credited for a hit. So just a one-hit game, but it's about as impactful of a hit as you could possibly have gotten from Rafi. And that hit will propel the Rockies to a victory to open the series against the Houston Astros. They'll win player of the game honors for that grand slam. Game 2 of the series now. Starting off with a strikeout. So continuing to hit for average, to struggle to hit for average, here in this Astros series, and that will continue here in the third. Going up against Jose Urquidy today, and another strikeout on the slurve. That at bat, I'll just say, in totality, was not a pretty one from Rafi. Bottom 8 now. No hits today, but he'll get one here. Just crack that ball through the middle infield there. Came scorching off the bat, and if he had lifted that one, it might have gone yard. Because he hit it a ton for sure, but instead we'll settle for the single. 114 off the bat. Yeah, if that launch angle was a little bit higher, we could have been talking about some major extra bases there, if not a home run. The Houston Astros will pick up the victory here in Game 2 of the series, so we're not at a game apiece as we head towards Game 3 here. 306, over 1,000 OPS and 18 homers. This one hit well to left. On a line, it is back and gone. The second homer of this Astros series. Just hits 394 feet on an absolute line. Did not get much elevation on it, but he didn't need it. Murillo with such effortless power is why he works so well here in Colorado and why he's having such an excellent season. I mean, that left fielder barely had a time to even react. Slider outside the zone. We're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of strikeouts in this series against the Astros. They got some pretty good pitching, though. To be honest, back deep again, and this time it's off the wall. Just missing out on a third homer, but a 2-run double, I think you'll take that as well. I mean, this guy is extremely impressive. Started off the year maybe a little bit less than what we were expecting, but he has got himself on a major tear. After a little bit of a warm-up period, we'll say that for the first month and a half of the season or so. Fly out there to right. We'll retire him to end off the 6th. And that will be it for us. The Rockies will win the series 2-1. Fun fact, Devin Smeltzer would pitch a complete game here. Not a shutout, as the Astros did get 1 run. But Smeltzer continues to be our best pitcher in the majors. Sterling Thompson, a couple days after this game, would get a major injury, out 2 to 3 months, which is really unfortunate. I thought he was playing pretty well at AAA and was in consideration for me for getting a call-up. But he'll be out for an extended period of time. I just wanted to take a peek and see if Murillo was in the MVP race. And he's not, because Nolan Gorman has already hit 35 home runs this year, 2 off of his career high already. I'm sure Von Rye and other Cardinals fans, subscribers, will love to see this type of production from Nolan Gorman. So far, just a breakaway candidate for MVP. If he can keep this up, that'll be impressive. Another guy I want to look at here in the episode is Chase Dollander. We started him out in AAA this year after a disappointing spring. He's gotten himself a really good year again down at AAA, and he's getting his ratings up. I think if we can get these 3/9s that are at 59 into the 60s, we could maybe give him a chance back up at the majors again at some point this year. But I want to take another look. We've watched a few games of Chase Dollander so far, but seeing as how he's kind of the next pitcher up for us, I want to get a good look at him today. Gonna fly out to Zach Veen here, who's also starting to pick things up at the AAA level after struggling to hit to start the year, including spring training. Ground out here for the second out of the first. That'll bring up Tice. 2-1 pitch. Hit well to right field. Zach Veen giving chase, but he's not gonna get there. And the home run problems with Dollander continue. That's really his only issue, and I don't understand how he's having so much problems with it. His rating's not that bad, but the dude just gives up homers. And that's a major problem for a Coors pitcher, of course. I know I've said it a bunch of times now, maybe sound a little bit like a broken record, but we got to get this guy to stop giving up homers, because everything else he does, I'm a big fan of. Top of the second now. Still 1-0 ball game. Foscue gets that one through that corner infield. And he'll settle for a single here to lead off the second. Pitch high in the zone is lifted to center. Brian Doe giving chase. Took a look at him in our live stream of April. He's having himself a solid year at AAA. Not as good as he was at AA, as we see an absolute cannon throw from Drew Romo. That one was perfect accuracy to get the out. And a swing and a miss from Schmidt will end off the second. Great strikeout pitch there from Chase. 2 hits through 2 innings. Not so bad. It's just one of them was a homer. Third now. We've got a full count pitch, and Flint goes down swinging. Second consecutive strikeout for Chase. And another swing and a miss for 3 consecutive Ks. All right, we're starting to see Chase heat things up a bit. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Just needed to settle in a bit in this game, and another one. The third inning goes down swinging. Palencia, and oh my goodness, he's done it again. 5th straight strikeout. That'll bring up Tice. Homered his last at bat, and he does it again. I mean, it is just something I can't comprehend. We just saw this dude strike out, what was it, 5 or 6 batters in a row? And as soon as you're like, yeah, Chase is on fire, he gives up another home run. Just really unfortunate. But the one thing that hopping into this game has shown me with Chase is that we probably got to keep him down in AAA for the rest of the years. That one's off the glove of the first baseman there. We got to give him a full year to work on his home runs per nine, I think, in AAA. Thought he was close to a call-up, but it's not to be the case. Zach Veen was injured. It looks like it's not going to be something serious, just a few days rest, which is good, because he was starting to heat up and maybe playing himself into a call-up in the near future. That grounder will bring home run number 3 for Salt Lake. And Schmidt will lift it into left, and we'll get through the 4th. 3 runs allowed in 4 innings for Chase. 2 homers. Swing and a miss there on Flint. Second time striking him out, swinging. And Adams does it again as well. The strikeouts are there. The highlight at-bats are there for sure with Chase. He's probably the best strikeout pitcher we have. That's going to come up into the majors. So there's his advantage, but sometimes with the strikeouts, I guess, come the homers in as well. Valencia with a pop-up to Drew Romo to start the 6th. Dander trying to make it through 6 full innings here. Hasn't been a perfect performance, but it's been really high and low, I feel like. It's not consistently bad. Got some really strong innings. That'll get Blakely swinging on that curveball. Getting a lot of swings outside the zone is Chase, and you love to see it. He would come out for the 7th, a little bit surprising, but with the Isotopes taking the lead, maybe trying to get him a win. And I can respect that. Pop up to first. We'll get the first out of the 7th. Now Zach Veen. Oh, no, sorry, not Zach Veen. He got out with an injury. Just used to seeing Zach Veen over there in right field. Out number 2. Now he allows a walk here. Only the 2nd walk here through 6 2/3, but that would be enough. End off his day. Ultimately, a lot of stuff he liked from the day, but you just want a little bit more consistently from him. He would pick up the win, though. So good on him for that. But we learned that the weaknesses with Chase are still there, and he needs more time to develop them. We are now at the final week of scouting, but before we hop into the draft preview, I want to do something that we haven't really been doing much to start out this franchise, mostly because our team is so terrible. But it is good to occasionally see where your team ranks in the league. As we can see, the division rival Dodgers are 2nd best in the league in batting average. Us Rockies are holding up that last spot here. In terms of runs, we also hold last place there. Hits, hey, we're not last. Mets have less hits than us. Love to see that. Doubles wise, last in the league. Triples wise, hey, tied for 26, as in tied for last. Home runs, we are not last in the league. We are tied for 21st in that category, which we're playing in Coors, so you got to think maybe the Coors bump is explaining a lot of us not being 30th. RBIs, we are last there. Steals, not last. Caught stealing, we are actually good there. We don't get caught stealing a lot. That's good. Means our stolen base percentage is still pretty bad. In terms of drawing walks, not great. Striking out, we're not terrible. 24th, still not good. Slugging percentage, dead last. On base percentage, dead last. Total bases, dead last. Okay, let's go. So assists, we're actually number 1 in the league. Would you look at that? There's something that we lead the league in. Putouts number 2. Errors were not great. So fielding percentage, are we in the field? Not very good, considering the fielding is the one thing we're actually pretty solid at. ERA, we are not last in the league. We are .02 away from worst in the league with the Athletics. Us, the Mariners, and the Athletics are all really close to each other as the worst in the league. And then there's a bit of a jump up to the Pirates. Complete games we have any? We have one. Smeltzer. Oh yeah, that's right. That happened earlier today. Saves. We are not last in the league in saves. Tied for 19th. There you go. Blown saves. We have 14 blown saves. Love to see it. We've allowed the most hits in the league. We've allowed the most runs in the league. We have not allowed the most home runs in the league. That's surprising. Where are we at here? 12th? Our pitching is only 12th in home runs allowed. That's honestly surprising. We've walked the most batters in the league. We are not very strong in strikeouts. And we have the third worst winning percentage in baseball. The Marlins are the worst this year. Interesting. But there you have it. I'm not going to do that a lot while we're terrible, but once we become a real baseball team, we'll be paying attention to that a lot more often. Let's take a look at the player stats as well. Rafi has dropped a little bit. He's below 300 now. Has 21 homers on the year, though, so he continues to just hit excellently. His OPS is below 1,000, so maybe not quite the MVP candidate we thought maybe at the start of the month. He just had an insane month of May. Ethan Salas averages up to 242. He's hit 12 homers. Dolander continues to play well at AAA, just can't seem to avoid allowing home runs. Jose Barreto, 307 with a 101 whip. He's done well since we added him to the AAA roster. Kyle Brown, 281 since we called him up to AAA, so I think that was a good decision as well. Sterling Thompson on the injured list. Zach Veen injured momentarily, though he's hitting well enough that he might be looking at a call-up here soon. Maybe both of these guys could. Brian Doe, 240 average, losing some contact right and some power left. His contact left, though, is going up quite a decent bit for us. McGaffick, he's done really well since we demoted him to AA. Let's see, Kobe Thomas on a bit of a heater right now, 12 home runs, above the Mendoza line barely. Chavis has probably been our best hitter besides, our top two prospects. Well, they're not really prospects anymore, but besides our young guns up in the majors. Lozano not been nearly as good this year as he has in the past. Ramirez still holding it down. Romo's getting a bit better every time we check in on him. Herb Reyes is up to 66 overall. You love to see it. +4 hits per 9. ERA just above 2, which is beautiful. Johnny Brennan on a heater. His ERA below 3, so a couple of really nice performances down in AA pitching. Anton Hernandez still not doing excellent here, unfortunately. But there you have it. That's kind of where the player stats are. With that being out of the way, let's talk about the draft. It is week 14. This is going to be the last guy that I scout. Be a guy available to us with our 4th pick, maybe. Looks more like a defender to me, but we're talking about picks that late. Was that actually the guy I wanted to scout? No, it was this guy. Okay, I was going to say the guy I wanted to scout had more offense. I actually clicked on the wrong player. This will be the last guy that we scout. A little bit more offense to his game. So, we're going to continue to do one more week in Starting Pitcher East and one more Discovery Week Outfield International. But let's go ahead now and take a look at this class. Now, who we're taking in the first round is not up for debate. It is very clearly going to be Neil Dorsey, the two-way player that, if my calculations are correct, will be a generational prospect. You have the number 1 overall pick, so there's really no use talking about anybody else that's going in the first round. Pitching wise, looks okay, not great, but as a hitter, this guy is going to be absolutely lethal in our lineup. So he's going number 1, no questions asked. I will say there are a couple of guys that will be worth maybe taking a look at trading. I think, using our second trade here in the series that we have available to us to take a pitcher could be pretty valuable. We have guys that are already, have already been drafted, but there are 2 players here in Hedger and Andy Stone that I think could be worth looking at after the draft to see if they could become potential trade targets. Andy Stone just doesn't really have much break or walks per 9, but otherwise looks pretty good to me. Should have really good stamina. And then Hedger is the number 1 player ranked by our scouts here, and control, velocity, and strikeouts are a little bit low with him. Not going to throw hard at all, but we'll have to see kind of what these guys come out with. But in terms of players that we will be looking at, we found ourselves a nice little gem here in Clemente Herrera, who is, I think, the best player in the class that we could potentially get after the first round. Somebody that we discovered in the international region infield. Now, I think he could play a couple of spots. I think he can be a very good third baseman. I also think he could potentially be a right fielder for us. I think we really are looking for an outfielder with a strong arm. Herrera should have that, and his power versus righties is going to be pretty bad, going to be in the 30s, but his power versus lefties will have a decent starting point, and he's going to have the plate skills, he's going to have the contact, his fielding will be decent, his reaction and his arm strength will be great, his speed will be good enough. 6'5", 218 pounds, low injury risk. This guy is an awesome find by our discovery players. I sincerely hope nobody else found him in this draft, because that would be unfortunate. But Clemente Herrera, if he is there at 36 or 38, it's going to be very high on my board. Another guy in those 30 range. Now, he might not be a favorite in the comment section, I know. But Omar Figueroa is somebody that I'm seriously considering with one of 36 or 38. Now, I know that his potential and his overall are the same. In fact, potential is going to be one worse than his overall. So, going to be a guy that's already going to be maxed out, but he's going to be guaranteed into the 70s. First base is just a position that we don't have anything for the future. Chavis has had himself a nice little run to start this year. He can also play pretty much anywhere in the field, so he doesn't need to play first base. And this is the one spot in the infield that we just haven't been able to find anybody yet. And Figueroa, I think, could be a 2 to 3 year stopgap kind of player that can provide us some good offense. And honestly, the defense or first base won't be bad. The player you're drafting is the player you're getting. He's not going to get better. I understand that. But we have so much potential already in our organization. We're by far the number 1 ranked organization in terms of the farm system. So I think taking a guy that can help us for the next couple of years, boost our major league team a bit, could be valuable. And so he is on my radar. A couple other position players on my radar here. We just found Luther Garner, actually. I think we changed what we're doing to scouting him. Or I guess we didn't just find him because he's not international. We found him a while ago and he just slipped through the cracks. He looks potentially pretty good. So we're going to actually scout him. But the guy I was talking about was Andreas Salinas. Another guy, he actually does have some room to grow. He's not going to be anybody with special upside for sure. But if he comes in on the high end of his ratings, he could be, high 60s overall with low B potential. Again, not insanely good, but he could be pretty close to MLB ready at 19 years of age. The one thing that makes me worry that he's actually not going to be on the high end of his ratings is our scouts don't like him. And I felt like if he was going to be on the high end of his ratings, our scouts would like him a little bit more. That being said, I kind of like if he doesn't end up being on the high end of his ratings, what he'll be, but very much so a risk here. If we want to take that sort of a risk, we could end up with a guy, in the low 60s with C potential if we draft him, which obviously would be a terrible pick with a top 40 selection. And then the other guy that I had my eye on, but we decided not to end up scouting. We just didn't have enough time to scout him. Alfonso Cabrera could be interesting here, but without scouting him, I just think he's probably off the board, unfortunately. There is one other discovery player that's pretty good. I'm not as high on him as I am on Clemente Herrera. There's only a few spots behind him in the scouts ranks, but I would have him a decent bit. He's mostly a defender. He's somebody that if he's still around at 76, absolutely count me in with this player. I just don't know if I would spend a top 40 pick on Malcolm Hewitt. Maybe I could. You know, really good fielder with at least solid potential offensively. They're not going to be awful numbers. It'll take some time to develop, but at center field, sometimes just having a great fielder is worth it. So somebody definitely I've got my eye on. A couple other players. We ended up discovering a few guys that I just couldn't quite get around to scouting. Ernesto Batista here. Couldn't get around to scouting him, but if he's still available late, he'll be a guy we could take a look at. But because we didn't scout him, probably not going to be an option for us until, you know, 106. Coppin here is somebody that I scouted, just didn't end up liking him enough to really keep him on the radar in the 30s, with his max overall being 70. And that's kind of what we've done with the position players. Didn't end up liking any catcher. I probably would have scouted him if I had more weeks, but that's pretty much what we got. Carlisle's another guy we scouted that we were pretty disappointed in. Sedano, I think, will be a solid pick for somebody, though he won't be incredible. Back to the pitchers now. Who are some pitchers we can maybe get in the later rounds? I mentioned this kind of throughout the year, but I'm looking more for guys that can be higher floor. If maybe we can sacrifice a little bit of ceiling to get guys that are a little bit more MLB ready, I'd be willing to do that. Unfortunately, this draft is pretty much filled with the upside guys. After these first three, there's not a lot of guys that are going to start with high overalls. Alonso Terrero has a max overall of 68, so much more likely to be kind of a low 60s player. Same with Walker, same with Richards, and he's injured. Same with Benoit, same with Pringle. Now, of these guys, I kind of like Pringle the best, because he's a lefty, and his walks per 9 are decent enough. If we're going to go for a long-term player, and out of these guys, except for Terrero, who's a discovery guy, he's going to go the latest. I guess Benoit and him are both in the 100s. Benoit's per 9s actually do look a little bit better, but his walks suck. I just like Pringle because he's a lefty a little bit. So these guys are probably maybe in play at 76 if one of these guys are still there. But these other guys, I just don't see myself really taking unless they're also there at 76. In terms of guys that might start with a little bit higher overall, there are some guys that are just not going to be available at the picks that I want to select them. Here's another guy that's going to be high upside but terrible to start. We have Matthew Ullman, who will have the same overall as he'll have potential. Don't know if I'm looking for somebody that MLB ready. We have a guy like Joan Garcia, but again, he's going to go in the first round. Another high upside guy. It's just not the pitcher class that I was hoping for. Here's the kind of the first guy that could fit what we're looking for here in Duncan Plank. His overall range goes up to 80. His potential range goes up to 91. So we'll have a little bit of room to grow. And there's a chance that he is pretty MLB ready. We'll get an extra 15% from him. So we'll go from 55% to 70 before next week. So we'll have a little bit of a better idea of what he is, because 56 to 80 is still a pretty dang big range. But in terms of kind of the mold we're looking for, a little bit more MLB ready pitching, he's kind of the best we've got after the first round, which is kind of insane so far for us. Another guy that I like is Yohan Blanco here. Unfortunately, his home runs per 9 are pretty bad. Not a per 9 that we like to have bad in Colorado. Somebody who's not ranked, shows a little bit more MLB readiness. So those are kind of the two guys that we discovered that could be in play for us at some point to get maybe a little bit of some MLB ready pitching. And in terms of relievers, we did discover a couple of guys. I don't typically spend a lot of resources scouting relievers. I'll usually just take flyers on them in the 5th and 6th round to see if they hit. Got a discovery guy here in Whitley, a discovery guy here in Dusty Coleman. And a little bit down the board, we have one more guy, I'm pretty sure. He just must not be ranked top 100. I did scout one reliever, and it's Robbie Barreto. Because, of course, last year we selected Jose Barreto. And now his brother is in the draft, Robbie. And so if he's available in the 30s, he looks pretty good. Not a very hard thrower, though. I don't know why, but all the good pitchers in these drafts just don't throw very hard in this franchise for some reason. But could be a fun player to add. The brother of Jose with one of those picks in the 30s. And then we did discover one guy. Going to be a little bit more of a high floor, low ceiling player here in Owen Carver. But he actually does throw quite hard with a cutter in the 94 to 99 range is pretty nice. So that is pretty much it. Let me know some of your favorites down the board. Of course, like I said, number one's not really up for debate. We're taking Neil Dorsey, but after that, I'm game for a lot of different strategies, and I want to hear which you think is best. Well, that's all I've got for this episode. The drafts will be coming out with the next episode. I'm excited for it. Hope you are too, and I'll see you then. Go Rockies.